Hi everybody, welcome to the video. Today we're going to be focusing on using the Extrusion Tool to make solid bodies and also to remove material from solid bodies. So the first thing that we're going to do is just talk about the model tree. So we can see in here, this is our model tree, and this basically acts as a history for our component and shows every step that we take. So anything that we do will be added to this model tree section. And what you can see is that when we open up a part, we get some predefined planes. So we've got right, top and front. Okay, and it also gives us a coordinate system that's at the center of these planes. So in order for us to make any 3D parts, the first thing that we need to do is sketch out some 2D geometry. Okay, so in order to do that, what we need to do is click a plane. So I'm going to click this plane here. You can click it here or within the actual 3D environment, and then we're going to click on sketch at the top here, and you'll see that what's happened is the toolbar along the top has changed. So it now says sketch here, and we've got all these different tools, and so these allow us to generate 2D geometry. So I'm just going to flatten up the screen. As we're working in 2D, it's nice if our screen's in 2D. So what you'll see is just here it says sketch view. So you can click on sketch view here, or there's a handy option just there. So you click sketch view, and you see it just squares the view up for us. Now I want to make a simple cube. So in order for me to do that, I need to draw a square. So if I come up to sketching here, you'll see that we've got all these different tools. So I could make a square using lines, but we've got this rectangle tool. And you'll see next to it, it's got a little drop down arrow as well. A lot of them have these. So that means there are like slight variations of these tools within the menu. So if I click on this, you'll see that the standard one is corner rectangle. But what I'm actually going to use is center rectangle. So that means I define a center for the rectangle and then an outer edge for the rectangle. So if I click there, you'll see that the mouse pointer now changes. I've got this X line. And you'll see these little dashed lines that go across here. So these are known as references. Okay, and they allow us to basically snap to them and give us a good point in which to anchor our sketches. And you see the reference line are going through our coordinate system. So this is right in the middle of our page. So I'm going to basically left click there, and then I'm going to drag out the square. And what you can do is, if we want it to be a rectangle, we'd make it so that the lengths are a different shape. But as I want a cube, what we can do is, if I move this to the right point, you'll see I end up with this sort of right angled symbol there. So that means that all the lengths are the same and they're perpendicular to each other. So I'm going to click, so I'm just going to left click again, and that accepts that sketch. Now I'm still in the sketching tool, so you can see this is still highlighted and I've still got the little X on my pointer. So if I press the middle mouse button now, I come out of the sketching tool and I can now add some dimensions to my sketch. So in order to change the dimensions, it's very straightforward. We can just double click, so double left click, and then we can input the size. So in this case, I want it to be 30. And because I made it so that all these lengths are the same, if I change this to 30, all of the lengths become 30 in this case. So I'm happy with my sketch. So what I now have to do is to come out of sketch mode, is click OK. So if I click OK, I've now got a sketch. So if I have a look in the model tree, you can see this says sketch 1, and that's my sketch. So if I rotate the screen a little bit, you'll see that I've just got this sketch on this plane. Okay, so I've got a 2D object. Now I'd like to make it 3D. So to do that, we'll use the Extrusion tool. So make sure that you've got the sketch highlighted, and then press Extrude. And you'll see now that we're starting to make some 3D geometry. And there are various different ways in which we can control the height and the way that this extrusion command functions. So you see this arrow here? This tells us what direction we want it to be. So if you click that, it will flip the direction. If If we want to change how far it extrudes, you can click on the ball and drag. So this is left click and drag, and then you can change the height that way. You can double click here and add a specific distance. You can use the menu at the top here to add a specific distance. Okay, so we've got various different ways in which we can do that. Now in this case we've also got this menu here, so if you have a look at this, so you can click on the little drop down and there are three different commands. So we've got this one here, which is extrude from sketch plane by a specified depth value, so that's the standard way of doing this. We've got this way as well, extrude on both sides of sketch plane by half the specified depth value in each direction. Now that's very handy. Let's have a look at what happens if I click that. You see now it maintains the plane in the middle of this part. Now for something that's quite symmetrical, it's very useful for us to keep those planes in the middle of our component. Now it's not always feasible, but where we can do it, we should try to maintain it because it makes our life a little bit easier later on. So I'm going to change this to 30. Okay, so now I should have a cube where the height, the width and the depth are all 30. And if I'm happy with that, again I need to press this little green tick here. So if we again have a look in our model tree, you'll see that we've got sketch 1. Now that's grayed out because it's being used by extrude 1. So you can click on here. Now what's important to know is that we can go back to any of these steps within the model tree. So if I need to change the size of my sketch, if I click on it, so left click and then go to this thing here, it's called edit definition, we go back to the original sketch. Now if I change this, so I want this to be 35, click OK, it automatically updates on in the extrude. Okay, so you can see now that my width and depth are different to my height. So I'm just going to go back and change that back to 30. Okay, so we've seen how we can create geometry using the Extrude tool. Now I'm going to show you how you can use it to remove material. So what we need to do first of all is sketch. Now once you have 3D geometry, you can use any of these planes, so any of these faces, as sketching planes. So I'm going to use this top one here. So I'm going to click on this top and then I'm going to click sketch, and you'll see now we're in sketch mode. So let's go to sketch view and you'll see that it's added these reference lines in for me again on the center on the coordinate system, so that's really useful for me. Now for this part I want a hole that goes all the way through. So to do that I'm going to use the circle tool. So if we come to sketching, you see here circle, again there are various different ones, but center and point is really what I'm going to be using for this. So I'm going to, you can see the cursor has changed and I've got the little X symbol. So I'm going to left click in the middle and then drag this out and left click again. And remember, to confirm our geometry we need to press the middle mouse button, so press down the scroll wheel. You'll see now I've got some geometry and here we've got the diameter. Now if you want to, you can change this to a radius. So if you click on this, you can see you can change it to radius, or you can change it back to a diameter. So to change this, I want to change this to 8, and so I'm going to have a hole that's got a diameter of 8 and I want it to go all the way through this part. And if we have a look in 3D, you can see that I've sketched on this top face here. And we'll click OK. If we have a look in the model tree, I've now got sketch 2, so that's my circle. So with that highlighted, we're going to click extrude, and you'll see what it's trying to actually do is add the material at the moment. So it's there and it's trying to add that. Now that's not what I want. So what we can do is flip it the other way. So if I click the arrow, it'll go the other way, and you'll see what's happened here is that it's quite intelligent, and it's figured out that this is going to be removed. So there's this little symbol here that's called remove material. Now if I untick that, you'll see that it's basically trying to add material where there's already material, so it's just a solid still. But if I click remove material, it takes it away. Again, we can control how far this goes, so we can use this and go all the way through. We could change this so that it's 30. Or another really useful tool is to come up here again, and you'll see that this time we've got a few more options, and this one here is very useful. So this is Extrude To Intersect with all surfaces. So if we click that, that means that whatever thickness I make this, so if I change the height, it will always go all the way through the component. Okay, so that's really useful if you have to go back and make design changes, because the whole will automatically update itself. Okay, so once you're happy with that, you just click OK. And we'll see now we've got a hole that goes all the way through on Extrude To. Okay, so this video was just a basic introduction in how to use the Extrude tool to both add material and remove material.